coming up in 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, I'm Pat Prokop and welcome to Heavenly Backyard Astronomy. The sun is finally shining. Well, as a matter of fact, we've had a lot of days where the sun has been shining, but late in the afternoon and in the early evening hours, this is what I had to contend with. Yeah, and the nighttime has been totally cloudy for the last several nights, if not weeks. But the daytime, we've been seeing a lot of sunshine, and like today, it's sunny at the moment. It's getting a little warm out here too. However, I was able to test my new camera, the ASI 1600mm Pro, using the sun. I put the sun filter on the telescope and did get a picture of the sun. That was the first light of the camera. But I was looking for more than that. I was looking for nebula or nebulae. I was looking for the nebula up in the sky. And the target that I picked is the Wizard Nebula because I knew it'd be up in the northeastern sky and the moon was over in the southern sky, so at least I had a chance of getting a decent picture. So let's go upstairs and let me show you how I set up N.I.N.A to capture the Wizard Nebula. All right, so the first thing I do is let's open up N.I.N.A and go into our controls and start loading in the equipment. First of all, I want to load in the camera, and in this case it's the ZWO ASI 1600mm Pro, and say connect. It's connecting. There, let's turn the cooler on. So this will automatically take the cooler down, and I can measure the temperature and so forth down here and the amount of power it's being used. Okay, so the camera is connected. Next thing I want to do is the filter wheel, and it's the ZWO filter wheel, electronic filter wheel. And there's my filters right there, the HA, the O3, and the S2. 4 and 5 are empty slots at the moment. Okay, next is the focuser. It's the Pegasus autofocuser controller, and let's load that. Okay, now that we have the focuser connected, let's connect the telescope. And at the moment, no telescope. Here we have selections of different choices and what have you. Celestron telescope driver or the Celestron PWI in my case. Now, this is important. You must have your scope aligned before it can be used in N.I.N.A or any other program like Sequence Generator Pro or APT. But you must have it star aligned, whether you use a quick aligned, what do you call it, 1 or 2 or 3 star alignment through the hand controller. If you do that, then you can select a Celestron telescope driver, or you can select, in my case, CPWI, which I like to use. This program here, it lets me load in a previously aligned system with numerous stars in the model, and this gives me a much better accuracy. Instead of a 1 or 2 star alignment, I have about a 16 star alignment set up in this program here. And I can always just reload it anytime I'm ready to use the telescope. So going back over to here, I load CPWI, and there we go. It's ready to go. And I have control here from N.I.N.A, or I can control it from my other software, the Celestron PWI. And then from there, we load the guider, which is PhD2. And it's loaded already. Right. So the first target I want to look at tonight is the, what was it? The Wizard Nebula. All right, there is the Wizard Nebula, NGC 7380. Now I want to set it for framing assistant. All right, and it's going to load in the assistant. It has my camera information. And the telescope information. It's the ED80T, which has a focal length of 480 millimeters. And there are the dimensions of the camera and the pixel size of the camera. Now, it loaded that automatically from the camera sensor. It picked it up from the camera sensor itself. Now, let's go. This is the view that my camera is going to see. There is the Wizard Nebula right in the middle there. So, the next thing I want to do is slew to the object or set the image into the sequence target. And I can slew to the target there as well. So I can either slew here or slew later. I'll go to slew later. Now, the target is NGC 7380 right here, and there's the right ascension and the declination for the coordinates. And I'm doing this in the daytime, so that's why I'm not slewing to the target right now, because it's right now it's below the horizon. As a matter of fact, it's at its nadir, the lowest point in the position. It won't be high again until after midnight tonight. But anyway, I recorded this 2 nights ago, and this is how I set it up. So the first thing I want to do is when I'm ready to set up the target, turn the guider on, slew to the target, that's where it is right there, and center the target. That's very important. This is what is very nice about N.I.N.A. I believe it's also available in APT and Sequence Generator Pro. But anyway, next we got to turn the autofocus on and change change of filter. Go ahead and do another autofocus. All right, you can minimize that again. You have other options as well in N.I.N.A for the focusing. All right, back to the target itself. So let's do this. Let's set up a sequence, and let's say start off with time-wise. I did 180 seconds, and that's 3 minutes. So do 10 frames. That's going to give me what, 30 minutes per frame, and it's a light frame. I have the option of flat, dark, snapshots, dark flats, whatever, light frame here. And the filter on this one, it's going to be the HA. Okay, I'm going to stick with 1x1 binning. I turn the dither on, and I'm going to dither. In this case, I'm going to dither every frame. And there's the gain 139, the offset at 30. All right, there's the first one. That's filter 1. All right, I want to add another filter. So right down here at the bottom of the page, add on the new sequence and keep the same settings, 180 seconds. It's a light frame. However, the filter is going to change. I'm going to change that to 03, and that'll be my, I believe that's going to end up as my blue target in the RGB scheme of things. Everything else is the same. Add another one, and this will be my sulfur. All right, next, one more. I want to add an open one, luminance. Now, with the filters on there, it blocks a lot of light because it's filtering out a lot of the light. So on the luminance, I'm going to call it, I'm going to take the 30 minutes worth. But I'm going to change the time. Instead of 180 seconds, I'm going to go 60 seconds because it's so much brighter without the filters on. And I'm going to do 30 of them. So I can either click on the plus or I could just type in 30. It's a lot faster. Okay. And everything else is the same. Yeah, I'm going to keep it at 139 with a 60-second exposure instead of a 180-second exposure. So, and of course, it's going to be either 4 or 5 because they're blank at the moment. I don't have a UV cut filter for the 1 1/4 inch diameter filter wheel yet. It's on the way. All right. So if I'm happy with everything right here, then all I have to do is hit go right here, start sequence. And once the sequence starts, I can just lean back and hopefully everything will go and fall into place. One thing nice about N.I.N.A, it slews to the target and then it plate solves. So it gets it dead center into the object. And I'm using ASTAP as my primary plate solver. And it's really good. It's really good. And once it's centered to the target, and then it starts to sequence, and there she goes. It's ready to run. And each time I change the filter, it will recenter the object just to make sure, and then refocus, and then it'll start doing its imaging once again. And when all said and done, I have it all set to in the sequence will end. It'll park the mountain and warm up the camera. So I set this up the other night because the target really didn't come into view until after midnight. Well, it was in view, but I couldn't see it because of the clouds. The clouds parted after midnight, and there I was able to set the sequence to let it run, and then I went to bed. And it did it all by itself from there after. And I was able to get up the next morning and do the imaging through Deep Sky Stacker and Photoshop is the way I put it together. So there you have it. That's how I started off with my first light from the camera, the ZWO 1600 mm Pro. Let's go back outside.
Of course, this is a monochrome camera, so obviously the images are in black and white. But you combine the channels together to get a full color picture. And you can mix the channels around to get different types of picture. One called the Hubble palette, the SHO, the Sulfur, hydrogen alpha, and the oxygen channels. And these are how I set things up. You can see the HA here, the sulfur, and the oxygen. I think the next time I have a clear night, at least a partially clear night, I'm going to try to add more oxygen. I'm going to actually, instead of 180 seconds, I'm going to pump it up to 240 seconds because the signal is very weak. But I understand there's a lot of good oxygen light waves coming through, which is more like the blue light. I want to add more of the blue to the target. That's one thing nice about these monochrome cameras is you have this the option of going into different channels and different wavelengths and using the narrowband filters. And I'm so excited about my first time using the camera and the results that came out of it. To me, it was amazing. I had just a regular RGB type image, and then I used a Hubble palette with the sulfur, hydrogen alpha, and the oxygen to come up with the same object, different colors, and different enhancement. Can you see the wizard? Well, thanks for watching, and remember, subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified of all the activities from here in the Heavenly Backyard Garden and the Heavenly Backyard Astronomy. And unless you need rain, and we just had 2.5 inches of rain yesterday, unless you need rain, clear skies, everyone.